Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm sharing with you some of the dinners we had this past week, and also I'm showing you a dessert that was almost a fail. Okay, for our first what's for dinner, I'm going to start by showing you a side dish I made this night. These are just some shredded hash brown potatoes. This is about half of a 30-ounce bag. I have 1 can of cream of chicken and I have a 16-ounce container of sour cream. It's not full, but I'm going to use what I have. I have half a stick of melted butter and I have a little more than a cup of cheddar cheese. I'm just going to start by adding my melted butter and the cream of chicken soup, the sour cream, which I ended up having a little bit more than half of that 16-ounce container. And I'm doing a half batch. This is a 30-ounce bag of frozen hash browns. And like I said in the beginning, I only used half of it because I'm using the smaller pan. If you wanted to make a whole 9 by 13 pan, just use the whole 30-ounce bag. And you can use frozen hash browns like I did, or you can use fresh. Now, if you do use the frozen hash browns, I suggest you let them thaw out like I did. It just makes it so much easier to mix them up with the cheese and everything else. I mean, it will work if it's frozen, but it's really hard to stir. So I'm just going to get these stirred together, and I'm going to show you how it looks once it's all incorporated, and then we're going to get it right into our pan. Now, I call these Easter potatoes. The person who gave me the recipe years ago told me that that's what they were called because they would have them for Easter every year. So I don't know if there's a name for these. If you guys have made these, let me know. But I love them, and I personally have never made them for Easter, but I call them Easter potatoes. And I think they're a great side dish, especially if you're not having a super exciting dinner, which once I get these in the pan and covered with the cheese, I'm going to show you. I just took out some chicken. I wasn't feeling particularly inspired this night, so I just took out a couple of chicken thighs and a chicken breast and just seasoned them up and baked them very basically. So I thought on this night I'd have, a nicer side dish since I wasn't doing anything too exciting with my chicken. And these are going to go in a 375 oven, and mine took about 30 minutes, really just until the cheese on top is nice and bubbly. So now that I have it in the pan, I'm going to start getting the cheese on top. I had added about a cup and a half of cheese originally to the mixture, and now I'm just putting more on top. You can put as much or as little as you like. I'm going to say it was probably about another cup. So I just want the whole top covered so that when it cooks, the whole top is covered and it looks nice and bubbly when it comes out. Another reason I like this recipe is you could easily make it the night before and put it in your fridge and take it out the day that you want to cook it. If you do that, I suggest though maybe take it out about 30 minutes before you pop it in the oven, because the inside is going to be so cold and then your cheese is going to melt on top. It's going to look like it's done and it's going to be cold in the middle. But on this night, I did prepare it before dinner, so I'm able to just pop it in the oven with the chicken, and now I'm going to show you how I prepared my chicken. So here is my chicken, guys. I told you I wasn't feeling super inspired to cook anything this night, so I even pulled out one of my foil pans just so I would have less dishes. So I have 2 bone-in skin-on chicken thighs, and I'm putting some butter under the skin. I always do that when I'm making any type of chicken with skin or turkey or anything like that. I'm putting a little bit of olive oil, and I'm adding this Kinder seasoning. If you watch my videos, you know that since I found this at Sam's Club a couple months ago, I just love it. I've used it on wings, I've used it on chicken, I've used it on whole chicken. So I'm just going to season both sides of the chicken breast and the thighs, and we are just going to pop this in the oven at 375 right next to those potatoes. Here's the potatoes after 30 minutes out of the oven. They came out really good. I did end up making a side of buttered rice to go with it too. So here I'm having half of a chicken breast, some buttered rice, a chicken thigh, and the potatoes. It ended up being really good and just a super simple dinner. Next up, I'm going to share with you a dessert I was making one day. It's gonna look like it's a fail, and I really thought it was, but it ended up being okay. Over here, I have half a cup of water boiling, and I have my Jello. This is going to be like an orange creamsicle pie. I found this recipe online. So I just have the small box of Jello. It's the 3 ounces. You're going to get it into your bowl and add your half a cup of boiling water and stir it until it's all dissolved and mixed really well, just like you're making regular Jello. So we're going to get the hot water in there. We're going to get that all stirred up. And then in the back, I have my graham cracker crust and my Cool Whip, and I have a little bit of vanilla. And I also have 1 cup of water, which is ice water. So I had added 1 cup of water and stuck it in the fridge because it said it has to be ice water. So I left that in my fridge for probably about a half hour, 40 minutes, just so it got really cold. So now we're just going to get the Jello mixed up. Now that I have all the Jello mixed in, I'm adding a container of Cool Whip. The recipe calls for 1 whole container of Cool Whip. And once I get that in there, I'm just going to add a couple drops of vanilla extract. We are going to mix this all together, and then we're going to get it into our pie shell. And here comes the part where you have to follow directions when baking. When you're cooking and you eyeball things, add a little more of this or that, it usually ends up okay. With baking, not so much. So, as you can see, there's way too much filling for that tiny pie crust. When I reread the recipe, it did call for making your own pie crust, and most people's pie plates, I know mine is, much bigger than the small crust that you get at the store, like the little store-bought graham cracker crust. So I just ended up scooping this out because I really wanted this pie and I really wanted to save it. So I'm putting the filling back into the bowl to try to be able to get that lid on because you can see it's all over the edges. So I did end up getting the rest of the filling back into the bowl. I put it in a smaller bowl and I stuck it in the fridge so, it would set like a regular Jello or a pudding. So I'm going to get the rest of this out of here and I'll show you how it ended up. And I couldn't get the top back on because it was all in those edges, so I just improvised, covered it with some press and seal, and threw it in the fridge. Here's how it ended up. It really came out pretty good. The Jello, you can see, kind of like settled to the bottom over the graham cracker crust. It was really good. I did let it set overnight. We didn't have it that evening because I felt there was a bit much in there still, even though I had scooped it out. So I let it set the whole night. But it ended up okay. It wasn't a fail. This night, French toast and bacon was on the menu, and when the time came, I really didn't have a taste for it. I still made it, but I didn't end up filming it. But for myself, I decided just to have an omelet. So I made a 3 egg omelet with jalapeno and some green onion and some cheddar cheese, and then I just topped it with some green salsa. So super easy, super simple breakfast for dinner that night. On this night, we were having a barbecue, and I just took a whole bunch of stuff out of the freezer. I had chicken wings, I have brats, I have pork chops, and I have hamburgers. But first, I'm going to start with my chicken wings because I like to get them seasoned up, and I like to put them in the fridge for a little bit before I cook them, just to get all the flavors of all the seasonings I use on there. So here I am again with my Kinders because by now you guys probably know that I love it. So we're going to put some Kinders on there. And right now I have about half of the chicken wings in there. I'm going to season them like that, like in little batches, get the seasoning on all of them, toss them around, and then add the rest and do the same thing. Here I'm using smoked paprika. I'm almost out of it, and for some reason I can't find smoked paprika anywhere. I don't know what the deal is, but I can find regular paprika and I only have a little bit of smoked paprika left. So I don't know. Is there a smoked paprika shortage? Maybe. So I also added some cayenne pepper because I really do like heat on my chicken wings. I am going to give this a good toss, and then I'm going to add my other chicken wings, add a little bit more oil, and repeat the process. Now that they're all seasoned up, I'm just gonna put a lid on it and throw it in the fridge and take it out about a half hour before cooking. So I'm gonna get ready to season my burgers and my pork chops. In the back there, you can see I have covered, those are brats. Those are the Johnsonville brats. I like buying those at Sam's Club. It seems like at the beginning of every summer, they sell like I think it's an 18 pack of them, and it's pretty cheap. It's like $9.99 or $10.99. So I usually buy two of the 18 packs every summer at the beginning. I freeze them, I just wrap them in plastic, and I usually freeze them in twos and then I throw them in a freezer bag. That way, whenever we want to barbecue, I can just take out two at a time. So I'm just seasoning up my burgers, and I'm going to do the same thing with my pork chop, and then we're going to get it on the grill. Now I'm just getting my onions cooked so that I don't have to worry about it when I'm outside grilling. I'm gonna get these all cooked up. I have some salt, pepper, garlic powder, and I'm adding a little crushed red pepper. And we're gonna get these cooked up. And then I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna show you a new type of air fryer French fry I'm going to be making. It's new seasoning that I found. So the onions are done. My potatoes back here, I have cut into strips and they have been in the fridge in cold water, and I've drained them twice. And that's to get the starch off. I find that when you do air fryer French fries, if you put them in cold water for about a half hour in the fridge, dump the water out, put fresh water, and do it again, and then really pat them dry, they really crisp up and cook really well. So let's get on to that because these onions are almost done. I've patted these potatoes really dry. That's really important when you're using an air fryer. And I put them in a bowl, and I'm just going to hit them with a little bit of olive oil. And I'm trying a new seasoning. It's from Cabela's. It's a Parmesan and garlic seasoning. And whenever I go to Cabela's or Bass Pro Shop, I love to look in their food section. They have like so many fun specialty food things. And I bought this a couple months ago and totally forgot about it. So it's my first time trying it, and it was excellent. Once I started stirring, I realized I needed a bigger bowl, so I grabbed another bowl. After I got them into my other bowl, I added plenty of that garlic Parmesan fry seasoning. I did add some more olive oil also. I sprayed the basket of my Ninja Foodi, but I did not spray the top of the fries. There was plenty of oil on the top. I set my temperature at 375 and I set the time for 15 minutes. After 8 minutes, I checked them and I flipped them, and I did increase the temperature up to 390, and that seemed to be perfect. When I make fries in the Foodi, which I do often, I'm always adjusting the time and the temperature because depending on the size of potato you have or how you cut them, it's always going to be a little different. So always set your timer, but check it halfway, see if they need a flip, and if they feel too hard, increase the temperature, which is what I did. Here's how they look in my Foodi basket. I have them spaced out. When air frying, I like to leave as much space as possible. If it's possible, you could dump them all in there, but if you can do it in batches, I recommend it. That's just what works out best for me. I have put a whole bunch of fries in and it works, but since I was able to do this in batches, that's just what I did. There's just way more air, and I think they come out a little bit better. Here's how my meat was looking. At this point, everything is almost done. I just had to take a final temperature, and then I put it in a pan. I brought it in the house and I covered it until it was time to serve. Here's how everything turned out. Everything was so good. I didn't take a picture of my plates tonight to show you guys. Sorry, but everything was really good. I'm so glad I remembered that I had this seasoning. I'm sorry I forgot about it for so long, but now that I know it's in my cabinet, I'll be using it again. I hope you guys enjoyed these recipe ideas. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already subscribed, please do. I would love to have you around. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.